What are your thoughts on the Dakes Study Bible? Oh, goodness. Right off the bat, huh? We're just going to go there. I actually have 2 copies of the Dakes Study Bible. This is my ordination Bible. It has my name on it right here and glued binding. It's not very well made. And you can see the layout. The font is a little small. I've actually got a large print too that they sent me as a replacement for this one because of the glued binding. It started breaking in the front, and you can see, look at that. That's just, oh man, falling apart. This Bible has a lot of good information in it. There's a lot of good things in it. But Dake, number one, had some personal problems. And early on, like before the 1980s and 1990s, there was some racial content in this Bible that was not just insensitive, it was absolute blatant racism. So we have that issue with, it was the rape of Tamar, I believe, and they tried to make that an issue of race. This Bible's got some good information in it, but you've got to consider the source. Whenever you buy a study Bible, you have to be considerate of the source. And, you know, there's sometimes to eat the meat and spit the bone, but with the Dakes Study Bible, this one has not only a few problems with the man because he tried to take a girl across the state line, and there were some sexual misappropriation issues there, all kinds of things with Dake as a person, not to mention his racist tendencies. And then you have his theology. His theology is hyper-dispensational, and he believed in a pre-Adamite race. So all those things alone, to me, just make his theology and him as a person being questionable, warped enough to where this is one I probably wouldn't recommend from a standpoint of using it as your primary study Bible, maybe as a supplement, because a lot of Pentecostals like this Bible, and I'm not exactly sure why. Dake was a Pentecostal, but there were definitely some issues with his theology. There were some issues with his personal life, and of course, there were some issues with his beliefs on race and different things like that. So because of that, I'm kind of out on this as far as using it as a primary tool. I have it more as a novelty than anything. I hardly ever reference the Dakes Bible. So hopefully that answers that question. Position on eschatology. All right. The Assemblies of God position on eschatology is pre-trib, premillennial. My position is probably going to be close to that, but I wrestle a little bit between, because see, post-millennial, when you're post-millennial, that means that things are going to get better and better and better, and the church is going to win in the end. And then when you're amillennial, that means you think everything's going to get worse and worse and worse. Christians are going to go through the Great Tribulation at the end. And then there's that dispensational point of view where we're premillennial. I believe that Israel has to be established as a state, and I believe that the temple has to be rebuilt in order for the end times to play out. I'm a firm believer in that. I don't believe that the Old Testament is metaphorical. I do not believe that the church has replaced Israel in the end. So that probably makes me a little more pre just by default. But when it comes to the rapture of the church, and when it comes to the Antichrist and when all that plays out, I'm a little foggy on that, and I believe anyone that's honest is foggy on that. Anyone that's being honest is saying, you know what, we don't really quite have this figured out. There are times when I read the Bible and it's like really strong evidence for a pre-tribulation rapture of the church. Then there are times I read the Bible and there's a really strong argument for mid-tribulation. I am definitely 100% pre-wrath. I don't believe that God's children are going to be assigned to wrath. But are we going to avoid persecution and all that in the Western world because of some rapture? Yeah, that's a tough sell for me. So that's probably not really an answer, but I am definitely premillennial. I believe in a literal 1,000-year reign of Christ, and I believe that there will be an Antichrist revealed before that point. What happens with the church in that window, I'm open to interpretation on that. I lean toward mid, but my official position as an Assembly of God minister is supposed to be pre. I'm definitely not post.